With King Von sadly passing over a year ago, there's been many questions that remained unanswered. That's until today, as I'm about to share exclusive information behind King Von's passing and how it exactly happened. Now, roughly 8 months ago, Tekashi 6ix9ine made a wild claim that Lil Durk sacrificed King Von the day that he passed. The reasons were for the lyrics that Lil Durk used in his song with Pooh Shiesty. The song with Shiesty was created 2 weeks after King Von's passing. In the song, Lil Durk says the lyrics, and I quote, "He was dissing on my cousin, now he's in that wood, huh?" This is where 6ix9ine mentions on Instagram Live that allegedly King Von had beef with Lil Durk's cousin Nooski a few years ago. That's when a complete and new breakdown on King Von's passing was released, and there's a lot of new interesting details that I want to share. Now, the day that King Von passed, it starts in Atlanta. Atlanta is home of the best recording studios, the best way to record with other rappers to get features done. It's simply the rap mecca of the world. Every single rapper is out there if you want to become a famous rapper. Now, King Von was out in Atlanta on November 6th, celebrating the release of his new album, Welcome to O Block, with a select few friends, family members, as well as business partners. They were just at a standard nightclub out in Atlanta, casual stuff. While out there, King Von and his boys, they rented out an Airbnb for the night, as allegedly they were planning on hitting a recording studio after the celebration party. Now, while at the album release party, it was said by many people there that King Von was not himself on that night. He was acting very strange, he was always on his cell phone, and he wasn't the usual and happy King Von. Now, this could be due to the fact that he got word mid-party that Quando Rondo was at a different club nearby. King Von and Quando Rondo were having beef behind the scenes for quite some time. Allegedly, both of them kept seeing each other's ex-girlfriends, sending sneak disses on Instagram Live, things in that nature. So at the end of the celebration party, King Von heads into his SUV with a driver and one other person. Usually, King Von rolls with 3 security as well as all of the boys from O Block, but tonight was a complete different story. After the celebration party, they all started driving to the Airbnb. Halfway to the Airbnb, King Von tells the driver of his vehicle to turn around and go to this lounge called Monaco. King Von did not tell his security or any of the boys from O Block where he was going. They all still believed that Von was just going to meet them at the Airbnb. When arriving to the lounge of Monaco, they end up parking their SUV in the parking lot. Just strangely enough, rapper Quando Rondo just so happened to be there in the parking lot with King Von. He was taking a nap in his McLaren with his seat all the way back. Now, it's still unconfirmed whether this was just a huge coincidence, them being in the same parking lot, but I don't believe it was. When arriving to the lounge, King Von sat in his SUV for 20 to 30 minutes on his cell phone, not speaking to his driver, not speaking to his friend that he had in the vehicle with him, complete silence in the SUV. That's when the man that was in the SUV with King Von got very worried and quickly texted all of the boys from O Block that were at the Airbnb, telling them to rush over to Monaco as something strange is going on with Von. That's when all of the security and boys from O Block that were at the Airbnb quickly rush over to Monaco. It's actually crazy, as in the surveillance footage, you see these massive SUVs pulling into the parking lot of Monaco. Out of nowhere, one of King Von's boys ends up scouting out Quando Rondo. He goes up to King Von and says, "Hey, did you know Rondo is here?" And that is when King Von then hops out of his SUV and starts walking into the middle of the street where a white SUV was parked. Now, this white SUV had a few people in it. It had Quando Rondo standing outside of it. It had Rondo's best friend Lil Timm sitting inside of the vehicle, as well as a driver. Now King Von and his crew, they started swarming Quando Rondo right in the middle of the street. A lot of talking then happened, and then out of nowhere, a massive brawl then breaks out in the middle of the street. King Von and Quando Rondo end up just going at it. No firearms are being used or anything. That was until Lil Timm hops out of the white SUV, he pulls out a firearm and starts using it to defend Quando Rondo in the brawl that he's having with Von. Now with the sound of firearms being used in the area, undercover cops that were actually parked down the street start creeping up to the location where the brawl is happening. When getting to the location, the undercover cops start lighting up the area with their firearms. It was described as a literal war zone in the middle of the street. Firearms were being used from all over the place, especially with it being dark outside. Nobody knew where it was coming from. That's when everyone in the area started running behind cars, ducking for cover, and while this was all going down, King Von and Quando Rondo were still out in the middle of the street having a brawl. This was until King Von's best friend Muop then runs over to Von, he knocks Quando Rondo out of the way, he grabs King Von and carries him into the getaway vehicle. But sadly, in the getaway vehicle, they didn't get to the hospital fast enough, which sadly had King Von pass in the process. While in the getaway vehicle and driving to the hospital, it was said by people inside of the vehicle that King Von was actually the most calm in the car. And while driving to the hospital, King Von was actually telling people in the car to calm down and that everything was going to be okay. It was such an unfortunate event. It's one that definitely could have been avoided, but as said by King Von's own manager, that was actually beside King Von during the brawl going on in the middle of the street. King Von is the type of person that when he has an issue with someone, he deals with it in person. He doesn't just sit around and let things blow over. He's a man of his word, and he'll always defend himself. A main huge question that was asked was, where was Lil Durk the night King Von passed? As 6ix9ine brought lots of light to the situation with the lyrics used with the song with Shiesty, a lot of fans are wondering, where was Lil Durk? And I actually have the answer for you. Now King Von and Lil Durk are actually involved in a court case together where allegedly both of them were caught using a firearm towards someone. And due to that, the judge in that case ordered King Von and Durk to have a restraining order against each other and that they're not allowed to be in the same area. It's very sad because I know if this wasn't the case and Lil Durk was allowed to be there, he would have obviously been at the celebration party, and I know this entire brawl with Quando Rondo never would have happened. And obviously a lot of fans that are upset that it happened are blaming Lil Durk and saying that he's behind his passing for these reasons. But that is definitely not something good to say. It's not fair to say either. Lil Durk would be there if he was allowed. But anyways guys, I'm ending the video here. I hope you enjoyed. I'm out. Peace.